Good morning, everybody. It's Jeff Goldberg for the Sales Pro Network. And if you just heard my voice crack like I'm 13 years old, it's because I've done about 9 hours of presenting in the last 2 days. But I'm glad you're here today. It is January 16th, Friday. And if you've joined us before, you know that I'm a sales coach and trainer, and I work with both individuals and organizations internationally to help them increase their sales. And if you've been here before, you know that every Friday at 10 a.m., I either do a live training or I bring in somebody who can add value to the profession of sales. And I promise you, my friends, today is no exception. I do want to say before I introduce our guest, and I believe I said this last week, we're 2 weeks into the year. The good news, you've still got 50 weeks left to achieve your goal. Here's the bad news. Most salespeople wait till October or November to wake up and realize they have not done the activity that they needed to do in order to set up the end of the year and achieve or exceed their goals. So I'm telling you right now, you should have been doing this at the end of Q4, but if you hadn't, right now, this second, and I know I'm right because our guest is nodding his head, now is the time to get very, very serious. If you haven't been prospecting, it's time to prospect your ass off. If you don't know how to sell, go to your manager, go to your coach, hire somebody, talk to our guest today. But now is the time to get help. Don't wait until it's too late. With that, I'm going to introduce our guest. Unbelievably, when he emailed me the other day and pointed out when we first met, this guy and I know each other for almost a quarter century. I can't freaking believe how old I am. He's much younger. He was just a child when we met, but we both worked together in an organization that was a sales training company. That's where we both learned how to sell and deliver sales training. And out of, I think, about the 50 people who were involved at that time, Todd was one of maybe 4 that actually could do it and does it well. So this gentleman is the founder of Sales Melon. He's a self-proclaimed, by the way, sales history nerd, and I'm sure we'll get into that. He's the author of The Transparency Sale, which I consider to be the best sales book of the last 20 years. The Transparent Sales Manager, also incredible. And I'm ashamed to say I haven't read this one yet, but we're going to learn about it today. His latest book is 4 Levers Negotiating. Please welcome my friend, Todd Caponi. Good morning, Todd.
You know, when we talked about how long we'd known each other, I had pointed out that, you know, when LinkedIn sent their kind of like end of year snapshot, it identified you as my first connection of all time back in 2004. So we will always be connected through that, Jeff.
It's insane. Time flies. For me, at my age, it's New Year's. It's always New Year's, which is why I say, please don't wait till the end of the year. The year goes fast. Anything to add to that, Todd, before we get going?
I will say, when you said you're embarrassed you haven't read the new book because it hasn't come out yet. Comes out January 27th. So you've got a built-in excuse, and there's no way you could read it anyway. So works out.
Excellent. I did not know until today when I was doing some research for this, but I saw that you earned your CSP. Congratulations. That's huge. Would you explain to the people who are listening, what is the CSP and why is that so important?
Yeah, it's wild. I'm a part of the National Speakers Association, and there's something called the Certified Speaking Professional, which is a designation that you have to earn through a rigorous process that I was kind of blown away by, where you have to have proved that over the last 5 years, you've done 250 plus paid engagements. You had them, like, there's a spreadsheet that almost burst into flames as I was building it. You know, with every speaking engagement, who the contact is, their email, so they can randomly reach out, and they had to be paid. They had to be a certain volume of people. You had to take a test. So there's a written exam. I suck at exams. Somehow I passed. There is you have to submit a keynote speech that they have a team of people that review and make sure you're not awful. Like, there's all these steps to it. The most rigorous of it is you had to provide 20 references, live references that they could reach out to. And you basically had 5 days to do it. So it was like 20, go, they have to be ready. They had to get at least like 10 of them back, and like, crazy process, but there's only like around 500 active CSPs in the world right now. And so it was a goal that I had set for myself and finally accomplished it a little bit over a year ago.
Yeah, 500 out of thousands and thousands of people in the National Speakers Association. And you said 200 to 250 gigs. I remember when I applied to be in the National Speakers Association itself, you just had to have 10 paid gigs. And I remembered when I was applying, I'm like, oh man, I got a lot of free gigs, but I think I need to get some more. I think I had 8 at the time, so I had to wait. But the thing for me was that national meeting that they have every year. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. I mean, I consider myself really good as a speaker, and I know you are, and our mentor, Steve. I sat in awe of some of the speakers on the main stage and said, oh my God, I thought I was a good speaker. I suck compared to these.
That's so true, right? It's like you think you're ahead of everybody. And so, two things that when you talked about, hey, it's the beginning of the year, time flies, right? And this is the time that everybody should really be sharpening the axe, even if you're awesome, right? And that's the way that I felt about speaking. Is like, I think I'm pretty good at this. I hired a speaker coach and I was like, maybe I wasn't as good. Boink. Like, and you extend your lead. And then things like the National Speakers Association, to your point, I'll tell a quick story. I remember showing up for the first conference, I think it's called Influence. And I got in late and I'm sitting there and I'm looking around at the audience. And I was just like, it was a bunch of people that were like much older, that I was like, I can't imagine that these people are owning a room. Right? Like, Jeff, when you walk into a room, you own it, right? Like, you got that stand-up comedy chop. You're brilliant, like all that stuff. And nobody likes a brown nose, but I'm telling the truth. But like these people, I was just like, what am I doing here? And then the person started speaking on stage, and I was just like, to your point, I was like, wow, like, oh, holy crap. Like, I'm laughing, I'm crying, I'm like, like a school kid. And that's where, like, I'm envious of that. And I think all salespeople listening to this, the fact that you're here listening to it, ding, 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 like, hey, you're extending your lead a little bit. But man, there is so far to go. The minute we get like, hey, I got this, is the minute you start to screw up everything.
Yeah, I absolutely expected. I'm going to be one of the best guys here. I wish I could remember his name, but one of the keynote speakers, Simon Bailey, I think is his name. Okay. You know Simon?
No, I don't.
So very, very commanding presence. He took the stage. Like you said, he owned it before he even opened his mouth. But then he spoke like this. Every single word had a pause. And I couldn't not listen. It was almost disturbing because I'm like, why is he talking like that? But I could not listen. And I stood online for about a half an hour to shake his hand. I said, hey, man, I couldn't not listen to you. Do you really speak like that? He goes, no, man, I speak like you. But you listened, didn't you? I'm like, oh, dude, that was brilliant. The other thing is, and they say, you're not supposed to talk about your fees. They don't want anybody to talk about fees. But there was another guy. And again, I stood online for about a half an hour. I said, look, I know we're not supposed to talk about this. I know what I charge. Can I just ask? I won't tell. What do you charge? And he just gave me a number. I'm like, okay, I need to get better at this because you can make a month's worth of income in 1 hour by speaking. Just incredible. But let's get to you because I mean, you're a prospecting expert, a sales expert, a negotiator. I mean, you are the man. And I want to start with negotiating because that's what your new book is about. First of all, can we define negotiating? How do we define negotiating? What does that mean?
Well, listen, negotiating, if you look at the traditional definition of it, you know what? Actually, you had mentioned I'm a sales history nerd. So I'm going to throw a little sales history.
Good. Get ready, guys, because Todd knows such arcane facts that nobody should ever know. Go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, and like I'm not home today. Like there's normally my sales history museum behind me. So I'm up in Wisconsin. But so normally you could imagine the waft of your grandma's basement behind me because that was the way that all the books and magazines smell. But here, just a little quick history lesson. When you look at kind of the progression of the U.S. economy from the time of the progressive era of the Industrial Revolution, so lots of words there, but when we started figuring out how to manufacture things, manufacture them at scale and take them to market, so late 1800s, early 1900s, there was all kinds of people taking advantage of the system. Right. And, monopolies forming, all of those types of things. So they created the Sherman Act, the Clayton Act to make sure that they were protecting companies. And that was always called fair trade. So it was meant to protect manufacturers. It had gotten to the point where there were legislation that was meant to set a floor for the price that anybody could sell something so that you created this fair trade market where economies of scale wouldn't crush the small guy. Well, you fast forward to the mid 1970s and it had gotten to the point where it was like, hey, listen, manufacturers are setting a floor. That doesn't help consumers much. So it went from fair trade to free trade. Free trade, meaning, hey, let the consumer drive the price. Supply and demand, like pureness. What that also meant is that literally overnight, salespeople had to learn how to protect the value through the investment that happens in negotiation, right? Like they never had to do it before because there was always a floor and you had to sell on value. Now you're all of a sudden selling on value and you're protecting the price, and nobody knew how to do it. So there was a couple of individuals that kind of jumped in to fill the gap, right? Like if you think about getting to yes, there's Charles Karras, like some of those guys. Getting to yes is like the original BATNA. Those were late 70s, early 1980s. Now, I would argue that today, so here we are 45 years plus, almost 50 years from the Consumer Protection Act of 1975 that created fair trade. We are literally still using the same techniques, just with different names, that we were using 50 years ago. They just come in a different flavor. We're still treating negotiation like it's an event, like it happens at the end, and that once it's done, that's the end. I would argue a couple of things. First of all, the sale in this economy, in this world where people can share feedback freely, where AI is exposing pricing models, where you need customers to not only buy, but stay, buy more, advocate for you, take you with them to their next company. The sale is an early milestone on the path to having all of that happen, not the peak. Yet we still treat the negotiation, the price, the terms, all of that kind of stuff as the peak. We erode trust at the goal line. Our approaches are literally flipping our lens from, as a salesperson, helping the customer achieve optimal outcomes and being a good partner to them, to, hey, I'm going to start lying to you now. My focus is on my own outcomes, and I learned all I know about negotiating from former FBI hostage negotiator. Like, what are we doing? So that's a long answer. That the short of it is, I believe that negotiation is broken. Our current approaches are no longer sustainable, and that we need to rethink the way that we talk about price, the way we propose it, and then the structure by which we negotiate it, because it's a race to the bottom, and that race is accelerating through this proliferation of information.
Yeah, and so many of the books, and you mentioned Chris Voss, and I think the same thing. Look, the book is good, but
it's great.
He's a hostage negotiator, and that's not what a sale is about. Because most books, like everybody says, you got to read Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and it's a great book. But sales is not war, because in war, the goal is to crush the competition, to kill. Now, my personal belief, nobody wins in a war. People are dying, but there's going to be a winner and a loser. But in sales and a negotiation, it's how do we create a win-win? Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not. Look, you may be able to crush the other person in a negotiation and get a deal, but it's certainly not going to be a long term. They'll find somebody else who they want to deal with, right?
Well, yeah. All right. When you think about trust, right? Like, is trust important in sales? Of course it is, right? Like, of course. And I believe that when we think about the tactics used, like Voss's book is fantastic. It's behavioral science, FBI intrigue. I love it. Cool. And there's some stuff that's really useful in negotiation on the whole. Like if I got to negotiate the cost of a rug at a market, or I got to buy a used car, like, yeah, there's some stuff in there that's fantastic. But, in that book, they literally are using trust as a tactic. And use it as a tactic. Like if I'm trying to release hostages from a bank heist, my ability to get you to believe that you can trust me, it's really, really important, right? And then, of course, you would never go, hey, out of those 10 hostages, just give me 5 and then go ahead and kill the other 5, right? Like that's stupid. But that's not what we're negotiating in sales. And to your point, when the deal is done, I got a sniper waiting to shoot you, or I'm going to go tase you and drag you to jail. That's not what we're doing. And again, I know that sounds extreme, but at its core, the sale is an early milestone on the path to having customers that buy, stay, buy more, advocate, take you with them. And I don't believe there's any other way.
Yeah, and if we're negotiating with somebody holding people hostage in a bank, we're not going to say, okay, let the 10 hostages go and we'll let you go. That's right. Not the way it works.
Exactly.
So is that what's wrong with traditional negotiation? What's wrong with the traditional ways, and why is it just no longer sustainable?
Well, I think it's that point that, when I'm doing, keynotes and workshops for clients on this stuff, I go try to figure out what the pricing model is, first of all. I use AI, which is exposing pricing models already. But here's a funny thing. So last Friday, I was doing a big keynote for a cyber tech company. And we were talking, I shared, it was a part of my rant, I talk about that idea that, hey, the ability for peers to connect with one another has never been stronger and greater. AI exposing pricing models. The one person came up to me afterwards and was like, we sell to chief information security officers, so CISOs. And we know that they get together and they talk about what they got from different vendors and how much they're paying from different vendors. And so they literally are like, oh, you got that from them? Oh yeah, I'm going to go ask for that. And like all of a sudden you've got this rolling ball of every time you've got, here's the part that's really not sustainable. How can, in that environment, you have every one of your customers paying a different amount based on how well or poorly you negotiated it and they negotiated it? Like, how is that sustainable? And number two is the ironic thing is, and this is a story I read from 1907, by the way, but it's so true today, that this salesperson from 1907 was telling the story about how in his territory, he's built really strong relationships with some of his customers. And then there's some that just come at him for everything. Like, we need a discount. It's too much. We need this. We need this. We need this. In the end, who do you think is paying less? The jerks, right? Because the nice people aren't coming at him. How does that make sense either, right? Like that the whole point, like the worse the customer, the less they're paying. That's no way to live. But so information proliferation, accessibility, connections, you can't have every customer paying a different amount anyway. But just from a human lens, how do we have our worst customers paying less than our best ones?
Yeah, and that's why I charge everybody the same thing. And as you know, I always say, I don't negotiate. Mm-hmm. When I tell you my price, that's my price. I'm not dropping it a penny. And of course, I'm lying when I say that. What I mean is I don't discount, because there's a difference between discounting and negotiating. To me, it always boils down to this, and you're really the expert here, but in a negotiation, if I give you something, I get something back. If not, then I've just discounted, and I don't do that. I will certainly be willing to negotiate if I'm going to get some value back, like longer engagement, lower price per hour, something like that, or better, whatever it is. But other than that, I'm just not discounting. I don't want to play that game. And I definitely, look, you and I have been doing this a long time. I don't know that every company in America knows me, but people do talk to each other. And I've worked with enough companies. What do you paid half what I did? Not saying I got a call from some angry, how come he or she paid less? I don't need that. I just don't want to play the game. If you like what I have to offer you, here's the value of it, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If you don't feel that's the same, then let me introduce you to some of my competitors, many of who work less expensively than me, and I'm happy to do that. But I'm just not going to play the game. So why is this approach not sustainable? And where did these approaches come from in the first place?
Well, I mean, again, it was a time where it was easy to get away with stuff. And there's another article that I read from 100+ years ago that just talked about, salespeople lacking confidence in their ability to deliver price, lacking confidence in their ability to let a customer walk if they are demanding things that you can't give. That anxiety becomes contagious, and that's where that race to the bottom starts. Now, you had just said something about, you don't discount, but there's an exchange. The whole concept of 4 levers negotiating is based on that. And so I'll kind of rattle it off for everybody so that you've got it, and you don't even have to read the book if you don't want. But the 4 levers are basically what you would do. So number 1 is you've got a price, but you would reward a customer for committing to sending much more people and programs through versus less. So they want to send 100 people and do 10 programs. The cost per is going to be less than if it's one person, one program, of course. So that's volume. Lever number 1, we are willing to pay customers in the form of advantageous prices and concessions to commit to more volume versus less. Number 2 is the timing of cash, or how fast they pay. We are probably, we like money, who knew, more willing to help somebody that's going to pay us faster than slower. Customer that wants to pay all up front, better than one that says, hey, Jeff, I'll give you 25% now and we'll pay the other 75% after the program.
Hang on 1 second, Todd. I'm just about to deliver a proposal, and in that proposal, it's going to say, here's what it's a company, it's a financial services firm that asked me to put together a 12-month program for them.
Yeah.
Here's the price if you do it monthly, but if you take care of the investment, everything up front, I'm absolutely going to offer them a discount because it's to my advantage to have their money up front, because if we do it month to month, if halfway through for some reason they don't want to continue, I'm out. But if I've got there's a value to me to have their money up front, and there'll be a value to them.
Exactly. So these are the 4 things that run every for-profit business, and they run yours, they run ours, they run the companies that you're selling to. So volume, timing of cash, length of commitment, 12-month program, better than a 1-month program. And then number 4 is what I call predictability, not fake expiring discounts like you get at Kohl's, but predictability, meaning mutual alignment around timing. And what I mean by that is going into a customer and actually paying them to help you forecast. It's not, again, manufacturing urgency through some price discount that, ironically, and we can talk about this, your fake expiring discounts, ironically, slow down your deals. They don't speed them up. And I can give you multiple examples of why.
I'm going to give you one too.
but ultimately, it's those 4 things: volume, timing of cash, length of commitment, timing of the deal, mutually. If we are able to share our pricing based on that, just like you're doing, writing it up in the proposal, saying, hey, it's based on this. When the negotiation happens, you're not discounting, you're paying for stuff that's value for you. So, hey, I need a 20% discount, Jeff. All right, cool. Your pricing's based on how much you buy, how fast you pay, how long you commit when you sign. Here's the things I'm willing to pay you for. Commit to more. And if the price, like the dollar amount's too much, maybe you're buying too much. Number 2 is pay me faster. Number 3 is commit longer. Number 4 is help me forecast. Let's align on when we're going to do this so I can slot it, knock that inventory out. That's valuable to me. That's the whole concept of 4 levers negotiating.
Brilliant. I can't resist. I think I might have mentioned this on this podcast before, but Zoom Info, which is a company that I love. I love their product. I think it's great. I've brought it into many of my clients, but every time I call them, every single time it's, okay, if you do this in the next 3 days, I can offer you this. And my answer is always, just because you said that, I'm not going to buy it in the next 3 days. I'm going to call you next week. And not only are you going to honor this price, you're going to give me a better price. Have a great day. I hate that desperately because they're lying to me. I don't like to be lied to. Don't do that.
So let's bang on this, because I want that practice to go away. And like I used to joke, and I literally just said this during a keynote, that if you go to Kohl's and you pay full price, we can't be friends. All right, like that's silly. Like you just pull up.
Do they ever charge full price?
They say it at the store, but then you actually go Kohls.com, hit coupons, and and it's 30, 40, 50% off. Anyway, here's the point. Number 1, let's say, so today it's January 16th. Let's say, hey, Jeff, if you can get this done this month, I can give you an extra 10% off. Now, let's say you were ready to sign right now. Now, if I'm a professional buyer, what I'm going to do is a couple of things. Number 1 is, he just signaled the end of the month is going to be important and desperation. So if I wait him out, he's probably going to offer me more. So we literally just slowed down our deal, especially these people. Like I've seen companies where at the beginning of January, like, hey, we're going to do a quarter, like first quarter's rough. So 30% off this quarter. Like now you've just incented me to the longer we wait and the closer we get to that, the more desperate you're going to get, because you just told me that. Number 2 is
if I buy a car at the end of the month, right? The last 3 days, everybody knows
exactly. So there's desperation. I can ask for more. That would be stupid for me to buy it now. Number 2 is you told me end of January. Well, let's say I can't get it done at the end of January, but it's February 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and you tell me, yeah, it went away. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to wait because I know it's coming back probably the end of February, end of March, some point. Like we literally are creating this environment because now you've reestablished a baseline for what the price is. And we are slowing down deals, not speeding them up more often than not. Maybe you get 1 or 2 Zoom Info peeps that are like, oh, crap. All right, yeah, I better sign this now. But the most part, you're creating this environment where you're slowing people down. You're incentivizing them to wait, especially once it expires. They'll wait for it to come back. I just did that with a pair of jeans. Like I do it all the time.
It's crazy. It really, really annoys me. And I'm not kidding. I will say, I was ready to buy today. I'm now not going. You just talk yourself out of a sale. And when I call you, these are exact, when I call you next week, I know you're going to honor the deal and I'm going to make you give me a better one. And they do every time.
Yep.
Every single time. Crazy. So in your first book, which is one of my very favorites of all time for sales, and certainly of the last 20 years, I think it's the best, called The Transparency Sale. If you haven't got it yet, guys, go buy it by Todd Caponi. It's the best. One of my favorite parts is when you're talking about transparent negotiating and you give some amazing examples. I'm like, oh my God, he's so right. So as I read it, I actually had that feeling you get deep in your chest sometimes where when you just, you know, you just heard the truth. It was like, oh, it's why you're so clear in your writing. I love that. So if most of us are doing it wrong, or at least in a way that no longer serves us, is four levers negotiating different than transparent negotiating? Because from your description, it sounds like they're almost the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing. That's what it is. So that was the most popular chapter in the book. It's the most popular program that I teach. It was something that back in, I think it was 2010, 2011. I had gone to a company called ExactTarget, email marketing software. And I had kind of discovered this approach accidentally when I got boat raced in a procurement situation with a massive oil services company in 2008. I kind of just was like, here's our cards. And all of a sudden they used them to negotiate their own deal versus me having to stand in the way. And I was like, what just happened? That was easy. It felt good. And we trust each other now. And so 2010, I get to ExactTarget and I just was like, hey, here's just a way to think about presenting price and negotiating it. And the team was like, holy crap. Suddenly we negotiated less and the back end of our deals sped up. Because there's a quote, again, I know, history nerd, that I start the new book with. It's from 1910, and it's from a guy named Thomas Herbert Russell in his book, Salesmanship, Theory and Practice. And he basically says buyers know more nowadays, which is hilarious. But it also talks to this idea that they're no longer inclined to pay what is asked of them unless they believe that the price is based on some sound basis. Some sound basis. Meaning, if I deliver a price and I'm like, hey, Jeff, here's my price, right? It's a proposal, meaning it's a proposed price. It's not the price, which I like. The word proposal is probably broken. We are telling the buyer, hey, there's no sound basis and that you're inviting me to come after you. On the other hand, if I deliver the price and I'm saying, hey, Jeff, here's my price. You're going to send this many people through. It's upfront annual net 30 payments. It's a 1-year commitment. And then we'll mutually align around timing. This is what your pricing is based on. Now, all of a sudden, things switch. And now you know, hey, the price is based on something. It's consistent. I know what levers I can pull and push. So back to that 2010, 2011 thing, all of a sudden our team was crushing it. And the organization looked at it and was like, hey, can you come talk at our kickoff? And so I'm a regional vice president, 300 something salespeople. And I was like, hey, here's what I do. And all of a sudden it was just like, right? It exploded and it became this thing. And so I've been studying it and refining it and researching it and optimizing it for the last, I guess it's 16, 17 years now. And so it's easy. Internalize the 4 levers. You could be having these customer conversations this morning as soon as you get done listening to this. It's not meant to be rocket science. You don't need like, oh, he touched his nose, he's lying. I think I saw his eye twitch. Another lie. Like, stop it. Your price should be your price with flexibility in the levers. Like, again, Jeff, you say, hey, I don't discount, but I do give and take. Those are your 4. There's flexibility. There's things you're willing to pay for in the form of a concession, more volume, faster cash, longer commitments, predictability.
Yeah, what I'm not willing to do is just give someone a better price just because they asked. And
exactly.
I have zero problem with them asking. I always ask. I always want to get the best deal I possibly can. And at the same time, I want to make sure that my vendor is not getting hurt. I think I've shared this. When I bought my first house, which my kids and my money still living. The first thing we did was we called people in to give us estimates on new windows. It was an older house. I wanted all new windows. We had 3 guys come in. The first guy gave me a price. Then, of course, I shared his price and the models of windows with 2 other people. And both those other salespeople said, there's no way this guy can possibly give you that price and make money. He's losing money. He's made a mistake. I guarantee it. I'm like, okay. So I called the first guy and I'm like, hey, man, I want to do business with you. I've checked out your windows and your price. 2 guys who sell the exact same windows said, you're losing money on the deal. Could you please rework your numbers and make sure that you can really do this at that price? I'll call you back in an hour. He calls me back in an hour. Mr. Goldberg, I apologize. I did make a mistake. I am losing money on this deal, but I will honor that price because I'm a man of my word. Here's what I said. First of all, thank you. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to retire on this, but I want you to make money on this, because if I have to call you a year from now because something's wrong, I don't want you to going, oh, this is the guy I lost money on. I want to do the right thing. And that's really what impressed me the most about transparency negotiating. To me, it almost read like, let me tell you what I want. You tell me what you want, and let's see if we can make that happen. And in most circumstances, what they want and what you want are pretty damn close.
Exactly. Yeah.
As opposed to playing games.
Yeah, that's the point of the 4, right? They're the things that drive every for-profit business. You want people to commit to a lot of stuff, pay fast, commit to a long term, and you need a forecastable business so you can invest, so you can resource it, so you can make sure you got the right people ready when you do buy. It's simple.
Yeah, and I love the word you used before, confidence. I'm running the Sales Confidence Lab, but so often I see salespeople who do a great job through the entire sales process, and then they get very nervous. I know this is a lot. I actually had somebody tell me recently, I know this is a lot of money, but here's our price. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'll tell you what I actually said, and I think I've shared this here too. I said, I'm a sales coach and trainer. I'm interested in what you've got to offer, but when I'm listening to somebody like you, 2 sides of my brain are listening. One is I'm interested in hearing what you have to offer and evaluating, is this good for me? The other is I'm evaluating your sales process. And God damn, you did a great job until just now. You just told me that you charge too much. You blew it, man.
Right.
And he thanked me. I didn't do business with him. He thanked me for the advice, but that's the time you need the most confidence, because if you're not confident that you're offering the right price, then the prospect's going to get that. You don't even have to say the words. There's a feeling. I'm getting ripped off here. Something's wrong. And we're actually transmitting, you can get this for less. Crazy.
Well, yeah, it's, the thing that's interesting is I get it if you're a startup. I get it if you've got a solution, like an add-on solution that you haven't established a market value for. But for most of these salespeople and companies, they've got customers. They probably got a lot of customers, and those customers are paying. And if they're staying, if they're advocating, if in many cases they're buying more, we should have the confidence when we deliver price that says, hey, listen, this is the price. This is the price our customers are paying. And here's the kind of funny analogy. I'm biased, but I don't know if you saw this story that I shared on LinkedIn, but I've kind of worked it in because I think it's compelling. There's a restaurant in New York and Chicago called Au Cheval. Au Cheval is, nice restaurant, right? It's always packed, hard to get a reservation. And the thing they're known for is their cheeseburgers. These cheeseburgers are fantastic. However, they're between $34 and $38 each. And the $34 is the cheeseburger. You want an egg on it, $36. You want bacon, $38, right? Like that's the price. Now, they give it to you transparently on a menu when you walk in, right? You go in and you're like, all right, cool. That's $34 to $38. Place is packed. Like I said, everybody's eating the cheeseburgers. Now imagine walking into this Au Cheval and being like, hey, I was just down the street. There's another restaurant and they've got cheeseburgers. They're known for them. It's called McDonald's. And they will throw in fries and a drink, and it's $8.50. You got to come close. I can't justify paying $34 for a cheeseburger when there's an $8.50 with fries and a drink down the street. That would be the stupidest thing in the world for multiple reasons. Number one, being the restaurant's packed and people are handing over $34, $36, $38 all day long. So if you think your solution is high priced, maybe it is, but maybe it deserves to be. If Red Robin comes in and like, hey, Au Cheval charges $34, people are buying it up, we're going to charge $32. They'd be out of business in 2 weeks. right? So you've got to build confidence that if people are paying that you can walk in and go, this is how much it costs. Now, for what you and I do, if I'm doing a keynote speech, the price is getting up there, right? Like, I think I've earned that. I every so often I get a startup or somebody that's just like, hey, Todd, we'd love for you to come talk at our sales meeting. And I'm like, hey, before we get started, it starts here. And if that's way off of what you have an appetite for, let's talk about that now versus later. And more often than not, they're like, we're going to call you in 2 years when we're doing 100 million. That's awesome, Todd. Thank you for sharing. And guess what I did? I didn't win, but the second best thing is losing fast. And I didn't erode any trust in that process either, right? And those people, I've had a couple of them refer me to other people. And so, gosh, you got to play the long game with all of that too. But you got to have confidence that if customers are paying something, that is the price, that's the value. And if they don't have an appetite for it, don't walk into Auchevel, go to McDonald's. That's cool, right? Auchevel's not for you.
And I love that concept of win fast or lose fast. I'm looking into a parallel dialer for one of my clients right now, and I booked a demo with a company. Doesn't matter what their name is. Anyways, I booked the demo, and I get an email saying, "Thanks for booking the demo. I'm looking forward to speaking to you. By the way, our prices start at the bottom is $9,000. Do you still want to do the demo?" And my immediate reaction was, "F you! Are you insulting me?" But then I went, "This is brilliant."
Yeah.
Brilliant, because if I'm not, and of course I wrote back, yeah, 9,000 is fine. Well, I still want to book it. But if I wasn't interested, if I'm like, no, there's no way I'm paying it, I'm wasting that guy's time. And one of the things I always tell salespeople is you have no time to waste. You got to protect your time like a mother lion protects her cubs, because there's just so many hours we can do what we do. You can't be at midnight unless you're selling the topless bars, in which case I want to come on the sales call with you.
Well, I often rant that, listen, if you're talking about a 5, 6, 7-figure solution to a 3 or a 4-figure buyer, one of you's in the wrong conversation. Do you want to know that now or later? Right? The term sticker shock has never been associated with anything good in the history of humankind. And so if you have gotten on that call, and let's say for a parallel dialer, you're expecting to spend $750, $1,000 maybe. And then you get on, you're spending time talking to them, and I like this. And then you're like, hey, how much does this thing cost? And they're like, well, we'll get to that. Right. Which is, I hate that. Oh, right. Like, this old quote, never share the price until the customer thinks it's more. Stop it. That makes me want to vomit. And then you have more calls, you do more discovery and all this. And then it's like, hey, it's $9,000. And you're like, what? You just wasted not only all of your time, but you wasted their time. You eroded trust. And now that person's going to be like, don't call them. And you're going to lose 3 or 4 deals that you never knew existed because they're not calling you. You've got to play the long game. Don't be afraid to share your price early.
Todd, are transparency and honesty the same thing?
No. So here's the thing. Like, if you ask me a question and I answer it honestly, that's being honest. But so the way that I view transparency in a negotiation, in sales, in anything, is really being an advocate for the customer. That if you are sitting in an internal meeting, there's a chair there for you. Like, I want you to know what's going on. I want to help you predict. And so if, let's say you ask, we're evaluating parallel dialers or whatever it happens to be. And you ask me a question about something, hey, does the parallel dialer do X? And my honest answer is like, no, it's not great at that. That's being honest. Now, let's say you never asked. Is that being honest? True, because I never lied to you, but it's not transparent, because now after I buy, I find out. Oh gosh, I just assumed it did that. Now it didn't. Now I'm pissed. Right? So the difference between honesty and transparency, honest is always telling the truth. Transparent is being an advocate, helping your customers predict and seeing through the lens of them that, hey, listen, when you buy this, I want you to stay, buy more, and advocate. That's transparency.
It's an interesting point, because there was something that his dialer did not do that I absolutely wanted. However, I don't know if I was the salesperson, if it would have occurred to me to say, by the way, here's something that people are often looking for, and we don't do that. I think it would be a good thing, but I don't know if I would have thought of that.
Yeah.
I was glad I asked the question, because otherwise I might have bought, but
well, and it's, you know, and that honesty is like, if we're intentionally hoping the customer doesn't ask, right? That's honest. It's not transparent.
Yeah, I got it. In a recent blog post, you disagreed with people who are saying that AI is the most significant technological advantage ever to hit the sales profession. Do you remember your written response to that?
Vaguely. I mean,
it was meh. And being a sales history nerd, what do you feel are some of the most significant technological advances in history for salespeople?
Well, you know, at the beginning, you said you referred to me as a prospecting expert and this. I'm not a prospecting expert anymore. Like, if somebody calls me and they're like, "Hey, we need prospecting help," I'm like, I could do it, but if you rank the top 50 people, I'd come in at number 47. I think.
Yeah, I do the same.
Yeah, and so
there are guys who I highly respect who are just on it with that, right? Jason Bay,
you know, and that's straight. That Jason Bay, yeah, like Jason Bay.
Amazing.
You're right. I think he's fantastic. And then, you know, social selling, some of that stuff. Samantha McKenna's fan. Like, there's a great people like whole crew there. But you know, back to your where was I going with that? Like,
I wanted the most important technological advances.
Right. Like, I mean, if you really look at the lens of history and what's impact the sales profession, like, wouldn't you say that the telephone made a bigger impact? Probably, right? Like, the telephone, before the telephone, we had to go door to door, rain, snow, horseback, living in shack, like, you know, there's a one horse town with a train that leaves at 2 a.m. to go to the next town. Like, ability to communicate at scale. Like, I argued the telephone, I think, was number one. I had a list on that blog article of my top 10, and I didn't put AI in it. And for anybody that's just like, this guy's an idiot, let me just give you the context. Remember when I said that Thomas Herbert Russell, in his 1910 book, Salesmanship, Theory and Practice, had 4 words in it that cracked me up, because it's what everybody's talking about today. Those 4 words are: buyers know more nowadays, right? 1910. It's 116 years ago. They were worried about the proliferation of mail order catalogs and advertising. What would we need salespeople for? Buyers could do their own homework. They have access to all of this stuff. What happened? Well, the sales profession flourished. It, you know, exploded with growth. You even fast forward to 2015, which is just 11 years ago. Forrester, the advisory firm, they put out a state of sales report that said that by 2020, so 6 years ago, that 1 million B2B sales jobs would go away, and hundreds of thousands of college students wouldn't graduate into the profession. Why? Because buyers knew more nowadays. Because the rise of e-commerce, and that buyers could do variant configurations and figure out their own solutions and price it out, and off they went. What happened? Sales profession doubled. The argument there is, listen, yeah, there's more information available. Absolutely, there is, always is. I would argue that more information available to buyers has never made it easier on them. It has always made it harder. I believe that more information available to buyers makes the importance of a good salesperson much more important, because our role is to provide a service and to do the homework for them and to see the potential outcomes, help them see things they never even knew possible, but do that homework. And that homework means not only, this is why we're great and they suck. No, doing the homework is exposing what you give up to be great at your core, and where the risks are, and what the best solution is for that client. Like we talked about with prospecting, I had a monster technology company CRO reach out to me, and he needed prospecting help, like cold calling. And he was like, "Todd, we've heard great things about you. That's what we want you to do." And I was like, "Fantastic. There's 3 other people like on the top of that list. I'm going to get you into their hands right now, because I'm not the person." Your happy ears has no place in being a service provider to your customers. And that's really what sales is. So AI, it's going to help a lot of things. It's going to help do some of that homework, but I don't believe it's the end all be all and the greatest thing to ever happen to the sales profession. I think there's many, many things, from the telephone to email to even the automobile. and air travel. And like you throw all those things in there, I think AI pales in comparison. Now, jury's still out. We'll see how it goes. But as of right now, I still have them at number 12.
I saw that and loved it. And by the way, you may not remember, but I am a guy who was knocking on doors, door to door, selling Encyclopedia Britannica 50 years ago. So even though there were telephones at that time, we were still doing that. And boy, oh boy, what a great learning ground that was. And going into people's homes, it's just, you see the craziest things, just the most insane things. Being an author and a keynote speaker, you also offer various workshops, and one of them is on the behavioral science of decision making, which I find fascinating. What is that, and how can we use that knowledge to help us prospect and sell more?
Well, that really is the core of the transparency sale, is this idea that is born from this concept, right? And I often tell this story, but my last role, I was the chief revenue officer in Chicago, where I'm based, for a company called Power Reviews. And you've probably never heard of the company, but you've used the technology and not realized it. Meaning, if you ever bought a pair of shoes on Crocs.com or a sweater on Vineyard Vines or 1,000 other retailers and brands, when you look at a product and you scroll down, there's the reviews under it. We were the engine behind the collect, display, moderation, syndication of those reviews. Anyway, we had done a study with Northwestern University here in Chicago that was just designed to look at, all right, when a website's acting as a salesperson, what do people do, right? Nothing to do with B2B or human-to-human selling, or so I thought. Well, the data comes back. There's 3 data points, 2 of which changed my life. Like, without this study, I probably wouldn't be standing here right now. I quit my job like a lunatic and wrote a book that I thought would suck, but here we are. Anyway, here's the 3 data points. Number 1, didn't surprise me, didn't change my life at all, is when we're buying something we've never bought before that's of medium to high consideration, we read reviews, right? Like almost all of us read the reviews.
I do.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's the 2 that changed my life. Are you one of those weirdos that when you're reading reviews, you skip the 5-star reviews and go to the 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s first?
I typically go to the 5s and then the 1s, and then I come back to the other
ones.
Okay,
so the 1s are like one of the first things that you look for.
This thing sucks. I hate it. It was terrible. I'm like, oh, geez, it looks so great. And how come everybody else is saying it's fantastic?
Exactly. You're looking for context. You're trying to figure it out, right? So at the time, 86% of us go to the negatives first. So we like skip by the 5s and read the 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s first. The last data point is on a 5-star scale, and this skews higher or lower based on the product. But on average, when the review score is between a 4.2 and a 4.5, that's optimal for purchase conversion. Meaning, a product that has negative reviews sells faster and more often than a product that has nothing but perfect 5-star reviews. And so I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, I get that. Like subconsciously, I know perfection doesn't exist and all these 5-star reviews must be BS. Now, then my brain went to this idea of, wait, that's when a website's acting as a salesperson, but those are humans. We're humans. We sell to humans. Is that the same thing? And I have a whole team here that I've been teaching to sell as though we're perfect and they suck, right? Like, are we actually making it harder on buyers? Are we slowing things down and doing a disservice to those buyers? The answer came back emphatically yes through the behavioral and decision science. Like I found a behavioral scientist at DePaul University to help me because I'm not that smart. Like I'm not a behavioral scientist, but we drew the line between, hey, listen, when we walk into a sales engagement, our role is to help them predict. It's not to convince them. And we do that by leading, again, 86% of us to the negative first, leading with what we give up to be great at our core, right? What we're not the best at, what, another solution might be better in certain circumstances. That high price, whatever it is that causes you to lose, why not set that expectation? And again, it comes through that lens of, hey, listen, I'm not a prospecting expert. I'm not a cold calling expert. My focus is on decision science applied to messaging, positioning, presenting, negotiating. And then I teach leadership stuff too. But that's my 4.2 to 4.5. What's missing is I don't teach top of funnel stuff at all anymore. And my price is in the high range, right? And if either one of those are going to give you heartburn, let's talk about that now. We build trust, we speed sales cycles, we convert more often, and we set accurate expectations that are consistently met. That's really the core of what I teach there is let's talk through that, and then let's apply it to the way that you message, the way you position, and the journey that you take potential buyers on to optimize for the brain for good, not evil.
Yeah, that was another thing that when I read the transparency sale, I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense, but I never realized it before. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because I've used those stats many times, always crediting you, of course, but I keep saying a 4.4 to a 4.7 is what gets you. So it's 4.2 to 4.5.
It was 4.2 to 4.5 back then. The numbers skew a little bit. So it might be 4.4 to 4.7 now. The point being that if you're presenting your solutions as a perfect 5, you're doing it wrong. The last data that came out showed that a product that is nothing but perfect 5-star reviews sells at the same conversion rate as a product that has only an average review score of a 3.25, which kind of sucks, right? Like that's big. Even having one negative review increases your conversion and speed sales cycles. In some cases, there was a research that we had done that showed if you only have one review and it's negative, you'll sell more and sell faster. It's crazy.
Unreal. There's a commercial that I giggle at every time I hear it because they go, we have over 1,000 5-star reviews. And I go, Todd Caponi would argue that that's not right.
That's right. That's not the LBS.
Hey, you say that salespeople ruin everything, but we don't have to. What does that mean?
Well, that goes back to the technology stuff. Talking about AI being 12th on the list. We've pretty much ruined the first 11. And the point being there is, can you imagine, like you're talking about, you're selling encyclopedias, but imagine it's 1895, right? And you're out there in the cold, you're in the backwoods, you're doing all this kind of stuff every day, you're wearing out, you're having to find farms to sleep in, like it's crazy. Well, imagine that in 1876, the notorious AGB, Alexander Graham Bell, makes the first telephone call, right? Like this gift where I don't even have to put shoes on. I can start to make calls. It revolutionized communication. In the 1910s is when it really started taking hold. But like I said, that could be the greatest advancement ever given to the sales profession. And then what did we do? We ruined it, right? We started spam calling people. I mean, we needed so much legislation to protect consumers from the telephone and salespeople. Like people would there was telemarketers calling you, if you remember, even back in the 1970s, calling at 2 a.m, right? Like your phone would ring, like, oh, what's going on? Like, would you like to buy this? Like, what? Right? And like, so we needed laws to protect people from salespeople ruining the telephone. We needed the Canned Spam Act of 2003 that AGB would be rolling over in his grave if he knew that there was 221 million telephone numbers on it. Like this gift, we ruined it. Then comes email. An incredible gift. Again, instead of having to write something, put it in a mailbox and hope it gets there in a week, 2 weeks, 4 days, whatever, we can send something, hit enter, and it's there, right? Like incredible. What an awesome gift to the sales profession. We can do it at scale. We don't have to lick stamps. It's awesome. Ruin that too. We needed technologies to protect us from salespeople with spam inboxes and all that. That didn't work. And I'm sorry, that was the Canned Spam Act of 2003. The other one was the Do Not Call Registry for telephones. But Canned Spam Act, right? We keep needing legislation. You got video. We got all these different tools that are so incredible. Like video can be an incredible gift to the sales profession, right? To be able to communicate with somebody in this type of way. But when video started to be sent at scale, I don't know if you were getting these, but I was getting these email prospecting messages as CRO, where the person would be standing here, and then imagine my background is your LinkedIn profile, and I call and I'm like, hey, you've got an impressive background. Anyway, here's what I sell. Like we were ruining it again. And then, gosh, if you need anybody to tell you that salespeople are ruining AI, my goodness, just look at some of my posts and the automated comments people are putting on LinkedIn, the messages I get that are the email garbage we are ruining again, right? Take these gifts, see them through the lens of they can make your world so much better And the minute that dirty word called scale pops into your mind, take a step back and go, listen, my role is to serve. My role is to help customers predict. If technology can allow me to do more of that, helping people achieve outcomes they never thought possible. Ding, ding, ding. If all I'm trying to do is, throw as many bullets into the air as possible and hope I hit a duck, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. I always love speaking with and reading people who agree with exactly what I say. And when you mentioned email just now, which we've clearly ruined, I never forget a post you made one time, because it was just, I went, yes, exactly. And it was about, I don't remember exactly, but you actually shared a picture of like 75 emails, and you had highlighted all the ones it said, I. Would you expand on that a little? Because it's perfect.
Oh, yeah. So remember, like, as a executive, I used to get, I think it was like 150 emails a day. And I was in 30 to 35 meetings per week, every week. And so email, I used to compare it to the instant lottery, like the scratch off lottery, where you got to check it because there's a chance there's a winner, but odds are it's a loser, right? And that's what my inbox looked like. There you go. You got one right there. So that, like, email was important, but most of it's garbage. And so when you think about how I would manage that, I would go in when I could, and I was looking for a few things. There's a priority, right? Like my customers, my prospects, my employees, like those are the three. Like if there's something dealing with them, that's always going to go to the top. There's another set, and that next set is like my boss, my peers, my investors, my board, my known vendors, sales candidates. Like there's a priority there. Number 14 on that priority list was unknown potential vendors, right? So unknown potential vendors, I love you. I'm sure you've got lots to add to me. Great. But that's not a priority when you think about 150 emails per day. So how would I determine this? Well, there's the name in your inbox, right? Like you open your Gmail, your Outlook, you got your name, you got the subject line. Subject line, I don't think executives care about, like your gimmicks to get people like, oh, like fascinating, but I just don't believe it.
Open this to win $1 million.
Exactly. What I'm looking at is, if I don't know who you are, I'm looking at the preview text, which is about 10 words of the first 10 words of your email. And my brain is going, is this email here to help me, or is it here to sell me? And the biggest indicator of that is the words I or we. And almost all of them. So I started to pull them into a box, and I have hundreds of them where every email starts with, I just wanted to. I wanted to see if you had 10 minutes available. I wanted to see if you saw my last 14 emails. I wanted to get a few minutes on your schedule. I'm going to be in town, and I wanted to, right? Those, it could have said, I wanted to give you $10 million, but I'd never get to it, because the minute I would see, I just wanted to, tells me this. Remember, you were 14th on the list. The minute you make it about yourself, guess where you stay? Number 14.
Yeah.
And so select all, delete. Now, the ones that stood out stand out like a beacon in the night. What do they look like? They look like they are there to help me. Somebody else said this. I stole this analogy, but I love it. Is you would never go to a bank and try to make a withdrawal if you've never made any deposits, right? They would kick your ass out. And the same exact thing happens in the world of, hey, 150 emails a day, 30 to 35. I'm a busy, like I'm not super important. Like I'm freaking busy. You want to stand out? Make my week better. One example was, I got an email from somebody that was, had noticed that I had put SDR, sales development rep roles, on our website. We were recruiting them. And so they sent me an email, and all it said was SDR salary study, Chicago. And I'm Chicago, right? And I was like, yeah, I wanted SDR salary study, Chicago. Hey, we're hiring SDRs. I want to look at that. I click on it. It's 2 sentences long. It says, Todd, saw that you are hiring SDR roles in Chicago, thought this might help. And I'm like, wow, it does help. And I looked at it, I opened it. 2 weeks later, my quarter ended. I get another one. I just wanted to. CRO board deck template. And I'm like, I got to prep for my board meeting. Oh, that's cool. Open it. Todd, hope the quarter went well. Here's a board deck template we had developed that's helping CROs prep for board meetings a little bit faster. Hope it helps you out. And I'm like, I love you. And then I look at their signature and I'm like, who are these people? It had nothing to do with board meetings, what they were selling, right? They were making deposits that were making my world. The minute I clicked on learning more about them, that is when they called me, because they had the technology to see open rates and am I clicking on links? They called me, and that's the one cold call that I answered.
Freaking
right?
brilliant.
It took 2 reach outs of making deposits, and I'm like, I love you. Like, I don't know if I bought what but I couldn't wait to talk to them, and I was thanking them for calling.
You've used the words more than once in this hour. Serve first.
Yep.
Sales is serving. I say it every day, all day long. Just yesterday, I was talking to, and we're over time, but we're going to end in a second. I was talking to a salesperson that I'm coaching, and he said, hey, can we listen to a call that I just had? I know I did something wrong. I can't quite get it. And we're listening to it. We get towards the end and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, before I tell you what you did wrong, did you pick it up? He goes, yeah, I made it all about me. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, man, it's not about you. It's about them all day long. Todd, we are out of time, and I hate that because I could absolutely talk to you all day, but I'm sharing my screen right now. Can you please tell people how to reach you if they're interested in working with you, getting you for a keynote, and of course, where they can get your books?
Yeah, so toddcaponi.com is the easiest place. You can follow along on LinkedIn, reach out to me there. I'm always sharing my nonsense. 4 Levers Negotiating comes out January 27th, available everywhere, all formats. Would love to dig in with that with you. And then I will leave you with this, Jeff, because you just said it. One of my favorite sales quotes of all time. It's from Arthur Sheldon in his 1911 book, The Art of Selling. And his quote is simply this: true salesmanship is the science of service. Grasp that thought firmly, never let go, right? That's what we just kind of summarized. We could have shrunk the whole hour into that one sentence.
Zig Ziglar said the same thing. Sales is serving.
Exactly.
He also said that the word sell comes from the Swedish word selja, S-E-L-J-E, which he said meant to serve, which I looked up and it doesn't, but I still love the concept. Because I'm that kind of nerd. Todd,
there you go.
Thank you so much for sharing your brilliance so generously. I've said this in front of you many times. I've told other people, I had no idea how smart you were when we were working together, but I'm honored to be associated with you. I'm so happy for all your success, and keep serving people because they need what you've got.
Dude, you're the best. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, man. And thanks everybody for listening. As always, I'll end as I always do. Please remember, gang, sales is a game of making things happen. Get out there and make sales happen. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, Todd. I hope it's warm up there where you are.
It is snowing.
Enjoy. See you guys.
See ya.